Hello, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Basics. Today we're going to talk about the critical importance of matching the right hook with the right plastic. There's a lot of plastics on the market, dozens of soft plastics, dozens of hooks, and sometimes it can be difficult to know when to match what kind of plastic with what kind of hook. We've brought aboard EverStart Pro Randall Tharp to help us out with this today. Randall, tell us how critical it is when you're dealing with soft plastics. I mean, you can have the best soft plastic. You can have the right color. You can be in the right lake. Everything's perfect. But if you don't have the right hook in that plastic, it really compromises the function of the bait, your hook setting ability. Everything can be wrong.
Right. It can get a little overwhelming at times. But, you know, and the shapes and styles of baits that we have today it's limitless. But really, I use three particular styles of hooks. And for me, you know, I carry those three particular styles in a lot of different sizes and a lot of different diameter hooks.
Okay.
And it pretty much, I can find a hook for just about every lake we go to and any particular bait that I might need to be fishing.
It looks like the three basic styles that you have here is an offset and a straight shank. Mm-hmm. And what they call an extra wide gap or EWG style hook.
Right.
With those three hooks, can you cover a lot of, I mean, is there much outside of those three styles that you carry around?
Really, I can get the job done with just about everything with these particular styles. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of oddball techniques where you would obviously need some other stuff, but for the majority of the plastics available today, I think these three particular styles will get the job done.
Okay, so with these three styles, they come in, each of these hooks probably comes in 4 or 5 different sizes. So if you got these three styles across 4 or 5 different size hooks, you're looking at maybe purchasing 15 or 20 different denominations of hooks to match up your plastics?
Yeah, I mean, this is my hook box. I've got a lot of hooks in here. There's several different manufacturers in this box. But basically what you're looking at is these three same style of hooks.
It's just variations of that.
Right.
Okay. All right. What I'm going to do here is we got a bunch of plastics laid out. I'm going to throw you some plastics and you tell me what the best hook would be to match with that kind of plastic. We'll start with some of the more basic stuff. Ribbon tail worms, lizards, whether you're going to Texas rig them or Carolina rig them, or even like, trick worms, skinny trick worms like this. A lot of guys, of course, put this on a shaky head, but some guys like to Texas rig it as well. What's going to be your hook of choice for these style plastics?
For all of those, I would use the offset style worm hook.
Okay.
I mean, for me, this is a very versatile hook. I mean, it works really well with a thinner diameter bait, which most of those baits you held up are.
Okay.
And you know, obviously this hook, I carry it from like a 2/0 up to a 5/0.
Okay.
And you know, I have a couple different, this is a Gamakatsu bronze hook. It's relatively thin.
Okay.
I carry this exact same size hook in an owner hook, which is, it's an extra strong hook. It's a little bit bigger diameter.
Okay.
You know, if I was using bigger line, fishing a little closer to the boat, I would use the thicker one over the thinner one. But with those particular baits, I use this thin one most of the time. You know, Carolina rigging, you know, fishing offshore, you know, fishing a trick worm, you know, this hook really it's just really effective.
Okay. A couple baits here that kind of close to your heart, the punching style baits or beaver style baits, of course, one of your favorite techniques. When you start getting into these style baits, what are you going to go with?
The straight shank flipping hook, and for me, I don't carry, these are all really thick wire, thick hooks. I usually use, you know, big line with this, and anytime like I use a beaver, rage crawl, pretty much they have to be a solid piece of plastic. I don't feel like this hook is effective with a tube, but with that particular style bait, when you snell a straight shank hook, I mean, it's very effective.
Yeah, and it looks like, I mean, these days, so many of these straight shanks like this come with that little bait keeper, just helps hold your bait on.
Yeah,
that's what that little weird deal is on there.
Yeah, that basically just holds your bait up. I mean, obviously without it, the first weed or stump you hit, your bait would slide down. So that's, you know, you can do it with heat shrink. This has got a welded keeper on this particular hook. This is a 4/0. It fits really well in a regular beaver, and that's probably my favorite hook and my favorite way to fish.
Okay. Going to throw you a little bit of a curveball on this pitch and flipping thing, because a lot of guys like tubes. and they like brush hogs for pitching and flipping. Now, you going to take that straight shank hook with that bait keeper and use it on these?
I wish I could, but it's not very effective. And the
Okay.
reason is, like say with a brush hog, the brush hog is just made out of a plastic, which is really soft.
Okay.
And the minute you put a straight shank hook on there, it just tends to hang up and get hung up a lot.
Okay.
So, for that particular bait, I would use this offset, you know, an extra wide gap hook.
Okay.
And I would also use this exact same hook in a tube. And just the reason is this is such a thick piece of plastic. Both of these, this, you know, obviously a tube's hollow in the middle, and this particular hook, I mean, it just gets the job done.
Okay. Speaking of the extra wide gap hook there, I'm thinking that that might be the right choice. Is my guess for some of these swimming type baits, the Big Easy, skinny dippers, the horny toads. I mean, I'm looking at the thickness of that plastic and I'm thinking, I don't know about the offset, I don't know if the straight shank, but this thing has a giant bend in it. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, I mean, it would do you no good to put an offset worm hook in a Big Easy. I mean, the hook would never penetrate the plastic, and this hook allows you to have that penetration.
Okay.
It's got a lot of room between the hook point and the bottom of the hook shank.
Okay.
And that's the best style to use, whether you have a weight on it, but in any type of swim bait or Big Easies, skinny dipper style lure, this particular hook is the one.
Now here's one thing that I'm always confused on. Weightless stuff. I'm confused about a lot of things, but this in particular really drives me crazy. When you're dealing with flukes and Senkos, I've used the standard offset like this, and I've also used the big EWG extra wide gap hook on these type of plastics that you don't put any weight on. You just throw them out there, let them flutter, twitch them around. Which is the right hook to be throwing on these?
Really, I can't sit here and tell you that I think one is better than the other. What I will tell you is, for me, in those particular lures, it's always more of a finesse application for me. I would always have them on a little bit lighter line, and for there, whether I was using this style or this style, I would use a thinner wire hook.
Okay, so it's okay to use an EWG style hook or an offset. You would just go a little thinner on it.
Right.
Okay, and that being just because lighter line, you're making long casts, easier penetration, getting through that plastic into the fish's mouth.
Right.
Okay, I got you. Randall, we appreciate you coming by and helping us out with picking out the right hook for the right plastic. In this edition, we just wanted to kind of get across the point that you don't just take any old hook out of your tackle box and hook it up with a little one-aught hook like this and put it through a beaver-style bait. They designed these hooks to work with all these different style baits. Getting them matched up correctly is a critical part of bass fishing success. And you can have the best plastics that there are, but if it doesn't have the right hook in it, the right size, the right gauge, it'll throw the whole thing off.
Right. I mean, if you match each bait with a perfect hook, I mean, you just achieve maximum efficiency on the water, and that's what we all want to catch every fish that bites. And I believe if you'll take a look at the bait you're using and choose one of these three styles of hooks, you'll find the right hook for that particular bait and find what works best for you.
Randall, we appreciate you coming by on Beyond the Basics. Hopefully these tips will help you get hooked up.